maybe I'll toss out the first question to you. You know, we just saw this as the last, 30-minute opportunity to get to know you a little bit more, see if you have questions, and see if the group has a few questions. The first is, just as right now you've had a chance to go over and meet with staff. I know it was just right now, but I think you probably know some of the guys.
Yes.
Would love to hear just general impressions about the team. What did you pick up on? What did you think?
Well, the team's hard work, and the line crew's hard work, and I know them. And they do a great job. They're committed to their work, and they seem like they haven't lost any of that. I haven't talked to them all in a couple of years, a few years, but and they really do take an interest. They had some questions like, how do you see this happening or this happening? And, they're committed. The office staff is also good. So Sandra, I don't believe I met her before, but she seems very nice. Eric's Eric. He's been here for I don't know how many years, but he's a very knowledgeable guy. I dealt with him when I was in Groveland. So they seem like they want to be treated fairly, and they'll give you dividends and returns if that happens. And they've always seemed like that to me.
That's awesome. Good. And there's a couple of transitions occurring. Did they talk about that?
As far as Mark leaving?
Yeah.
Yes, yep. They mentioned that Mark had the day off today. The second one?
The foreman, I believe, was moving tomorrow.
Right, yeah. So Mark's leaving and the other Mark's moving, right, which I know about.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought someone else was leaving.
Yeah, right.
I'm like,
I know.
what did I miss?
I think it's actually two people are moving up because I think Sean is moving into
That's right, to foreman,
Mark's position
right?
too. So everybody's bumping up. Plus,
Right.
you have a new apprentice there as well.
Right. And I met Jeff, and
Yep.
he seems he came from the electrical field, so he's an apprentice electrician there. Not quite hasn't taken his test yet, but so he has a good background. He seems very enthused to get going in his new career. That's for sure.
Great.
Okay.
Why don't we just go down the line?
Sure thing. Going to ask the next question. What do you see yourself focusing on during the first 3 months of the job?
First few months, getting a feel of how things are running here and seeing if I could help and tweak it any way better, one way, shape, form, or another. Or if it's perfect the way I see it, we'll keep it going that way. See if anyone needs any training to help do their jobs more efficiently. And I'd also like on the power end of it to keep progressing towards renewable energy without mandates or anything like that, if we could keep that going.
Cool. Bob?
What did I do?
Nothing yet. What did I do?
Do you want to read another?
I've been looking and everything is on.
Yeah, if you want to flip your page over, Bob.
Yep, there's number
Question
3 right
three
there.
is yours.
Number 3 right there.
Number 3 there. Okay, number 3. What type of support do you see yourself needing from the commissioners to ensure that you are successful as the what? I'm not so sure, guys.
As the general manager, what would you be looking for from the commissioners?
Okay, I'll do that.
That's good.
I would be looking for their input and for their concerns of how the light plant could run better or more efficiently, or the direction they would like to see it take. I would take all that into consideration. I'd also be looking for their input of how we could help the town, because even though we're separate, and I realize that, I believe we need to work hand in hand with the town and help out the town as much as we can as well. So, any kind of connections I could help, they could help me make within the town, and that would be also helpful.
That kind of leads into the question I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
what would be your strategy and process for getting to know town officials, the community and power suppliers, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, you need to handle that.
Right.
And I started, I was the manager here for 19 months.
All right, I would think to meet people with the town, maybe have a meet and greet or some informal meet and greet maybe. Introduce, get to know everyone, get to know their concerns, how we can maybe help, or how they can help us for that matter. Power supply and all that, I have over my 20 years of progressive experience in the municipal world, I have a pretty good Rolodex of people who can help me too outside of the town. And in the other light, we rely on each other for help. So I call them, they call me, we help each other out. So that's something I wouldn't have a problem leaning on. I won't know everything coming into this job, but I do, like I said, have a good set of contacts of people who will help me, and I in turn help them to get this all done. But I think I need to know all the people in the town here. Did I miss something on your question?
No, I don't think so. But I guess, we're looking for, when you first come into an entity and take over as a manager, what is, there's certain things you do, and there's certain things you're going to expand on.
Right.
And I think that's really, the question. How would you look at that from a personal aspect of coming in and taking over an entity like this?
Right. Well, like I mentioned, see what's working and see what might need to be worked on to make it improve and make it work better for everyone in the town. Again, I hit home on this, and I don't want to sound like I want to give the whole life plan away to the town, because I know we're separate, but I believe in small towns, small communities. Every department relies on each other to help everyone out. So, as well as the other municipals in this area, because we haven't worked in Groveland for almost 5 years. I know how much all the light plants rely on each other for help too, as well. So, and that's something I would like to keep going.
I'd love to switch and add one in that I found on this, but as you think, everybody has a learning curve coming into any job, no matter what it is.
Yep.
What do you think is the main thing you need to learn coming into this job?
The office end of it, for the most part, is the power buying, power purchases, power PPA, and that. Is it something that I think I will never be able, or I'm going to take a long time to handle? No. I think it's something I just need to spend more time on. Right now, my job is so spread out with taking care of line crews and this and that, which I know the manager's job is too. But to me, it'd be a little more focused on, because I have a foreman to take care of the line crew, more focused on the power end of it. So that would be something I would like to focus on, and that's something I need to work on. But again, I have good contacts that would help me along with that. So, because I know just my experience with Groveland, I know just by being in on meetings and that, they've always thought, hey, what are you going to do about this one? The managers, and I think they still do it, I don't know. But they all get ideas from each other. How are we going to handle this? What's the best? What do you guys think is the best? And the input seems to be good. And for the most part, when I was there, it seemed to work. So that being said, I'm not going to take an advice from a manager saying, hey, you drive off this bridge and you're going to get, power for 2 cents a kilowatt. I'm not going to dive head in on that either. So.
Well, I think you get a piece of that too, you know, in walking into this meeting where you heard Dan and I talking to each other about some PPAs that were out there. And we do bounce it all off each other because we're all in the same boat.
That's right. You're all here to provide cheap power, cheap, safe, reliable power, but this conversation, the cheapest power you can, and, you know, cleanest power.
Correct.
So.
All right, so I'm going to move to number 5 here. We'd love to hear your final pitch for the job. Why do you think you're the right person to be Rowley's next general manager?
All right. Well, as I kind of been hitting on, but my progressive. Oh, let me go back one step. Public power's been around for 100 plus years. It works. It's something I believe in. I like helping communities. My 20 plus years in this, progressively moving up, I believe has prepared me for this. Again, I know working in this community, it's good to rely on the other municipals, which again, I have a good Rolodex and good contacts. I'm reliable. I'm always on time. I'm very rarely out sick for one reason or other. I'll drag myself in, and usually they kick me out because they don't want to get sick. I'm an operations person, so I've been in operations. I know what it takes to keep the lights on, the meters spinning, how to keep things reliable, like tree trimming, preventive maintenance, which I believe is key for a small utility like this. So being this manager, you kind of need to be a jack of all, in a municipal like this, you need to be a jack of all trades. You know, you need to know how it works, and you need to get on the other end of it as far as buying it, put it all together. So I believe that makes me a good fit for it.
Excellent. Why don't we see if anyone, does anyone have any other questions before we see if Bill has a question for you all? Anything else on anyone's mind?
I just asked a question. How do you see, touch a little bit on renewable energy and you know, wind, solar, and who do you see the future of that?
The wind, basically, in a nutshell, whoever's going to sell you the cheapest power, but the wind and the solar, I think are your biggest components moving forward. Probably more the solar, I would think, because everyone's putting more on their houses, and the solar fields are going up quite a bit. I think we need to be pushing, not only Raleigh Light, but all the municipals need to be pushing for the renewable energies, because it's better for the environment. And for the most part, they're coming in a little cheaper, I believe. I could be wrong. But
Have you had any experience in battery technology?
just the no, I'm gonna say.
Yeah,
I know of it, but I'm not gonna sit here and say, you know.
Yeah, it's kind of one of the questions. There's only really one community in that.
It's really tough to get batteries. Well, not tough to get batteries, but they take up, you know, a lot of space, a lot of room, and a lot of maintenance to the battery power and things like that. In my limited experience with it, you know, so I don't know if it'd be a great fit or not. I guess.
Okay.
Since the last time that we talked to you, were you or did you explore Rowley Light any further as far as some of the stuff that we have online? I know that if you go to our website, you could see that the DP report's there. You know, so that's stuff that people can explore and look at.
Yeah, I looked at it a little bit. Yep, I did.
Okay.
Your portfolio was diverse with you had Saddleback and what was the other wind one? Ridge Ridge Mountain, was it?
I'm trying to think. It is Saddleback.
I'm not testing.
But, oh, no, I know too because I have the same portfolio. So
And the hydro for, so you're diversed out there. And then you had a couple other ones, Shell and Nextra, and they seemed like they were power with no specific fuel.
Correct.
Something like that. So, yeah, I went through that, and I checked out your rates, your A rates, which are your municipal rates, and your Bs, which I believe are your small commercial rates, which are 10 kilos and below, kilowatt hours below, and then the large one, 10 or above for a given week or something like that, qualifies them or something like that.
there was nothing in there that was shocking or off-putting to you. was
No.
there? Okay, that's
No,
kind of
I
what I'm
don't
looking
think
for
so.
because I know when I took over as a general manager, it was very overwhelming to look at this big spreadsheet with all these numbers and try and figure out where they fit.
It would have been only, but I'm kind of, most of that, well, not most of it, but some of it, a good amount of it's all your account numbers, your 367s, 583s, basically what I say, with what bucket's the money coming out of, or what bucket's the money going into. So I'm used to seeing all those numbers, and your operating budget for distribution of lines or substations and things like that. So I was used to seeing all that. The other end of it, not so much used to seeing, like I said, like the portfolio where we're buying from and everything like that. So some of it was different, but the majority of it was recognizable things to me.
That's good. Awesome.
Yep.
Any other questions, guys? Anything else?
Yeah, please. A lot of you already know that I've been out there with some of the other things that we were talking about here.
Yeah.
I was standing on the town common, right out here, and the guy that was there, the manager, doing it, taking care of everything, asked me if I wanted a job. And I said, well, I don't know, I got to think about it. And the next thing I knew, I was marching down the street reading meters. And in the summertime, it's great. In the wintertime,
Sounds
make
like
sure
great.
you've got plenty of
That's
tape
right.
to hold your pants together.
That's right. Right.
Well, why don't we see if you have any questions, Bill, for the commissioners? Anything on your mind at this final stage?
Well, let me explain to you how things were working at the very end before I get through. And it was just one of those things that we just keep going. And Ipswich decided they wanted to make the difference and get the extra money, which is 8%. That you can only go so high.
Yeah.
And we've been there right along. And because of that, them wanting to do that, we built the new unit. That's why that's down there at the end of that field.
All right, but hey, why don't we see now? Let's see if Bill has some questions. Do you have any questions, Bill? Anything on your mind?
Basically, I would like to just ask where would the commission like this, what direction the commission would like to see the light plant going over the next 3 to 5 years? Or what direction, not even 3 to 5 years, but which way would you guys like to see it progress towards?
Give you a little background. Over the past 2 or 3 years, I've been on the commission. I'm in my 6th year right now, and we were looking at generation. To probably 2 megs because
Yeah.
the higher rate, trying to keep it down so we wouldn't buy energy at the higher rate for the rest of the year. So we were looking at some generation, and then we looked at the rate of return, and the rate of return was going to be 17 years in some cases, and we had different outfits came in before us. And then we kind of like throw our hands up and say, this is economically feasible right now, or, and then we, that's why I put on about the batteries, okay? Because I at the DEPA conference,
Yeah.
the year before last, I sat with the Sterling manager, okay, and he put his little presentation as we were eating, okay?
Yeah.
And just talking about how he got into to the batteries in Sterling. It would, kind of set my neurons on fire and thinking about it,
Right,
and saying,
right.
hey, this might be another alternative, okay? And so I'm still thinking about it, but I want to know, is it economically viable
Right.
for a town like Raleigh to do something like this?
Right, yeah.
So, your thoughts?
Again, as far as the batteries go, I don't know much about them, and I'm not saying I wouldn't be open to it, but I'd be on the same page as you. Really, it's just investing that kind of money, or however much it would be, and where you're going to put it all. That'd be another thing, because they take up room. And would your return be worth it in the end? And how long would it take to get that money back? And then start saving the people money, showing your, what's the word I'm looking for? Showing your, what you achieved on it. I can't believe I can't think of this word. But anyhow, showing your results of it, to say, hey, we did this X amount of years ago and we paid this much, but now you're all saving, 5 cents a kilowatt or something on it. So I wouldn't know how long that would be. So it'd be a study. You'd need to look into it. I would need to look into it.
I think one of the things, Bob just touched on it, where I see Raleigh Light Department going, like you said, with battery storage, I do think we're going to end up having to do something or wanting to do something, in the future with that. Again, I think the technology needs to mature a little bit more.
Yeah.
One of the things that we've started on already is beneficial electrification. This year we just started implementing an EV program, which is, more sales for us is great. Reduced carbon out in the environment, that's a win, too. So we're working on that. I believe we're going to be offering rebates on heat pumps as well, which is, again, beneficial electrification. It's a win-win. Maintaining the tree trimming here in town.
Yeah.
That's one of the things. I know you've hit on it before in what you've said.
Yeah.
That totally twins with, the philosophy of RMLP here and, making for reliable power, especially being an RP3 community.
Yep.
The other thing that, should you become the general manager, you will learn is that there's the possibility of a mandate on municipal light departments to follow the RPS, a specific MLP RPS, which would set a percentage goal that we would have to reach with our portfolios to increase our green power to 80% in 2050. So that would be something that, as a board, we would have to work, towards how many percent per year, looking at the PPA, so on and so forth. And, we would work with the general manager and ourselves to get there.
Get that.
We're on TV. Just to expand on what's PPA. So
a PPA is a purchase power agreement. So that's a contract that we go into with a power provider. As Bill has mentioned, say like a Canton Wind or a Miller Hydro. We purchase power at a set price per kilowatt or megawatt. So that's what a PPA is.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yep.
Anything else that you mind, Bill?
No, I'm good. I'm fine.
So, as you know from emails, the commissioners are seeing a couple of finalists today, and we'll likely do some talking afterward and see what direction they'd like to go in. So I'll be back in touch as soon as I can be.
Okay, great.
Anything else from you guys? Are you good?
I think we've spoken enough.
All right.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks.
I'll look down at you. I don't want to make you any sicker than you are. All right. Thanks, Craig. Craig Fonseca for being here today for your final interview for the general manager position. So, since you had a chance to meet with the staff this morning, just love to hear some of your general impressions of the team. What do you think?
Real laid back. Seemed real easy to talk to. Very take a lot of pride in the work. Take a lot of pride in the community that they work for, which is great to hear, great to see. It seems like everyone's on the same page, or at least on the same page that I am. That everyone helps out. You know, it doesn't matter what it is. If you have to sleep at the office, whatever it takes to get the job done, which is great, which is real nice. We talked a little bit about teams. Like you said, I coached football for a while. It kind of flowed. It felt real nice. It felt real nice with the guys, girls that were there.
Excellent.
Alrighty. What do you see yourself focusing on during the first 3 months on the job?
I guess the first 3 months would be a lot of learning, and that comes from doing your own homework, obviously, but also learning from the people you have around you. That would be the most important part. Jumping in, obviously, feet first, but putting all your effort into learning as much as you can in those first 3 months.
Are there any particular spots that you feel like you need to learn about?
To start, the system one, but that's not, it's important, but probably down 2 or 3 on the list. I'd go over the contracts first, I guess the power contracts, learn those, understand those. Moving on from there, learning the system, probably take a ride around town. The other parts of that is obviously probably go over to accounting, introduce yourself to police, fire chiefs, highway superintendents, kind of get their feel, have them, get to learn them, what they do, and what they can do for you. Everyone works together, and then learn the town, right? Learn the people of the town. Learn, board of selectmen. Get to meetings, get out in the town, and meet as many people as you can.
Cool, thank you.
Do you want to do the third question, Bob? Number 3 is you.
Yeah. Number 3, what type of support do you see yourself needing for the commissioners to ensure that you are successful as the general manager? It's kind of interesting. I ran across a lot of people before I was anything.
Right.
I was standing in the front of the drugstore one afternoon. Police cruiser come zooming down the road, stopped, jumped out, come over to me, he says, "You want to be a policeman?" And I said, "Well, let me think about it."
Right.
I wound up as a policeman.
Right. So it was what support that I need from the commissioners?
Yeah.
Yep.
Is it? I think you need to. I want to say use the commissioners. Probably not the right way to say it, but I think you use the commissioners to also help. Right. It's another layer of another layer you can use. But the commissioners can show you, the town itself, what they've seen in the past, the experience. I mean, there's experience on the board and the commissioners. What they've seen in the past, the utility, how they handled it. Different situations that have come up. It's nice to ask, or have that ability to have that relationship with the commissioners, because you have to work closely in a small utility, small town, to have that ability to come in and sit down and actually ask those questions and get the answers, and then take that information. Don't ask the questions and not use that information. Ask the questions, take the answers, take that information, and put that into your general manager, put that into your work day, and learn from that. So if the situations does come up again, you know how it was handled in the past and how it could be handled, present.
Yeah, historical knowledge is kind of...
It's key.
important.
It's absolutely very important. Very important.
And the next guy I get to talk to was the fire chief.
With fire chief.
With the fire chief.
With the fire. Okay.
So it's just how things work in the town of Raleigh.
Right.
Well said.
Yep.
What would be a strategy and process to get to know town officials, the community, and power supplies? I touched on this, but
It is, I think.
run with it?
Yeah, no, I think it would be, it's a face-to-face meeting, right? All the commissioners, handshakes, you get to learn each of the commissioners, their experiences, how long they've been in town. I think that's very important. It's the police chief, fire chief, highway superintendent, the accountant who does a lot of the work for the utility. I mean, it's handshakes, it's face-to-face. You know, you want them to learn you as much as you need to learn them. But it's, yeah, I mean, you make your way around town. You make your way to the Board of Selectmen meetings. You make your way to the pancake breakfast. You know what that looks like. You're about the town. You know, you're part of the town, basically. When if you, I would say, if you do it right, if you manage correctly, you're part of the town. You know, you're part of that community. You know, handling the electric supply for the community.
They're the ones that call you back.
They're the ones that call you back. Absolutely.
And if it works, they show up with a cup of coffee.
Right.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky, right?
And you already touched on this a little, I think, in Kevin's question, but as you think of, your learning, everybody has a learning curve coming into any job,
Right.
So it's not unusual. Where do you see your biggest learning curve if you were to come in as the general manager?
I think the biggest learning curve would be the power aspect of the job, understanding the contracts, which would be easy to read. You take a lot of notes, ask a lot of questions of your E&E. You have to keep them honest. But the other part of that is actually learning, how they purchase power for you, but you need to understand that part of the business. It's probably the most important part of the business, rate-wise and all that. That would be it. I would learn and learn and learn and read and get that down. I think once you get that down and you understand that part of the business, the rest of it, kind of flows. Once you get that rapport together with the guys and girls you're going to work with, once you get that atmosphere together, it's a good thing. It just kind of flows along.
Okay. Going on to number 5 here. We'd love to hear your final pitch for the job. Why do you think you're the right person to be the next general manager of the Rowley Light Department?
Well, I thought about that, and not that I've put this together. My experiences, my life experiences, my work experiences, I have had the goal of running a plant or running a utility. I can tell you this: you get 110% with me, right? Good, bad, and different, and hopefully it's all good. You get that, and I'd be a great general manager. Just meeting the folks and who you'd be working with. I just think I do right for Rowley. I wouldn't make you foolish. You wouldn't be. I would not make the commissioner look foolish. I'd be a great general manager, and I think given the chance, you'd be proud at what I bring to the job and what I bring to the town. To finish that.
Sure.
Sorry about that. To finish that is, I think it's the ability to learn, right? I think you have the ability to learn. I think you have the ability to, if you have that ability, you can learn the town, you can learn the job, you can learn the people, and I have that ability, and I think that's what you have to be motivated. And I'm motivated for the job. I think it's been a long 3 weeks. I've been waiting to get here and talk with guys again, and that's it. I'd be a great general manager for the town and for the commissioners.
Just kind of jumping on that, if I could.
Sure.
I know in our last meeting you said that you had looked over the DPU report.
Right.
Is there anything in there that concerns you? Do you understand it? I understand. You're confident that you can understand what's
Correct.
in there, what you don't already know. So.
Right. I guess it's a good question concerning. There's a couple of questions, I guess, on the numbers that you would have to ask that you would want to understand. Understanding the report, yes, I can understand the report. Take time to go through it again. Mm-hmm. I've read it 3 or 4 times. There's numbers in there that you could question in a good way, right? In a good way, and see what the answers are, and if you need to, whatever you need to do to help, help what that is or what the numbers are, what they say is your job. it's part of your job. So, yeah, it'd be the fourth time to read through it and see, and ask, you know, I mean, and that comes down to the other part is ask what you've seen, what the commission's seen, and with the DPU reports and prior DPU reports. If you look at the DPU report in the meeting minutes, it's kind of the same as the last DPU report, so it's marching along. Off the top of my head, I can't remember the numbers. I can't remember the page.
That's okay.
But there's a couple of things, sure, that you look into, dive into. Absolutely.
Cool.
Why don't we see if anyone have any other questions before we see if Craig has some for you guys.
We were talking a little bit about historical knowledge of the commission. Just go back a little bit. About 3 years ago, we were looking at additional generation for the town.
Right.
Okay, and we were kind of up in the air. Just kind of the right question, so you just kind of think about it.
Sure.
Okay, and we were looking at gas. We were looking for gas generation, and we're looking for an extra 2 meg.
Right.
Okay, because of the peak loads. And
Forward,
when,
yep.
When it goes above the peak load, we don't want to. We'd be stuck in that pain for the rest of the year.
Right.
So when the peak load comes, you turn on the gas generation. But then we looked at the price, what the rate of return was going to be for that.
Sure.
And then we kind of it's going to take like 11, 17 years to get our money back.
Right.
With different contractors and everything else. And then we looked at battery technology. So, and we would think Sterling put some batteries out there, and we were, and I got to sit with the manager and talk about how they did it out. So things, maybe you can, from what I just gave you, maybe elaborate.
Well, I'm sorry that you are looking in battery storage. So one of the numbers to remember is the forward capacity number is going up from 800,000 to a little over 1.3 million, right? So that's the peak you have to work on, is getting that peak down and getting that 1.3 million back down to 800,000, 700,000. And how you do that, I guess, there's technology out there that you can look into to keep that peak down and get that peak down. That would be the first. That would be the first thing, I guess, within a year, is see what technology is out there. What are the options for Raleigh to keep that number down and even lower that number? Is it battery? Is it gas turbines? Is it what is that helps that number come down? Because that number is just gonna. You're kind of at the mercy if you don't have your own generation to get that peak down. You're at the mercy of V&E or what that contract looks like for those years. So that'd be a goal. That'd be a big goal.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Anything else from anybody?
There was one thing, summertime after school went out. There was another, he and I were on the same chair, at class time. And he didn't have a ladder truck. He did have a ladder truck. I'll take that back. And he wanted to know if we wanted to go out. And I said, well, yeah, we'll give it a try. So we did.
There you go.
Lined up, looked around, kind of nice, really good view, the whole thing. And it worked out pretty well. But next time you wanted to show you where the street light goes, he called us and said, go up the ladder.
Craig, why don't we see if you have any questions that are on your mind for the commissioners at this final chance to meet with them?
Yeah.
Well, I know that there is something else out there.
Right. I don't. I asked a lot at the first interview. I've thought of questions to ask. Not too much there.
In your mind?
No, not too much. I said I don't know how you guys feel, but I hope I can get a nod and do a great job for town of Raleigh and the commissioners.
And the other part of it is when we get rid of incandescent lighting, and we put regular lights in.
I just have one final question in terms of relocation and everything. I know we talked about that. And, you and I emailed about that.
correct.
If you were offered the position, that still works for you?
I would move up. I've been working with I've been working with, but I've talked to a real estate agent. We've kind of been going back and forth on places in Raleigh that are available, Ipswich, Newbury. My goal would be to stay in town. You know, you need to be in town, you need to be close to, you know, work, and then, you know, with the guys and girls you're working with. I've talked to my girlfriend, we've had long conversations. She was here with me, first interview, when around town. All in, you know, I'm all in. It's you have to be in town, and I have no problem moving to town, so.
You weren't shocked by housing prices or anything like that up here?
Rents are interesting. Rents are interesting, but I guess it's where you are, right? In the location that you're in. But it's a great location, right? You get Newburyport, you're right there, so it's a great location. But no, I'm all in if it works. I haven't done too much with, you know, leases or anything. Obviously, to see how this will work out. But no, I've been looking for the last couple of weeks, you know, see what's around. So. Yes, no, to answer your question, I have no problem moving up, sure. Well, so that would be a question, is when would the commission expect to be up here? And the only reason that I ask that is there's apartments out there, but there's not a lot of apartments out there. I mean, we are, you know, looking around, just price-wise, where you have to be, you know, in your own price range. When would the commission expect to have someone in town? Or what that time frame looks like to move to town? Is that an immediate, type of?
Let me see, I was talking to Dan yesterday. Dan, I think his last day would be the end of February, beginning of March.
Okay.
Okay, and Dan was willing to stay on an interim basis, like once a week, to help the transition.
Okay.
So we've talked about that as a commission.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of, do you have to be living in Raleigh the first day you take the job?
Right.
Yeah, I doubt that. I mean,
Okay.
I would assume there's some.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
Okay. So I'm actually at my girlfriend's house right now in Raynham, and it's about an hour and 10-minute ride. So it's, you know, not too bad, you know, to come up. So it's better than 2 hours into Boston or anything like that. So that's good. So when decision-wise, when do you guys see making a decision?
Well, I think we're probably going to have a discussion at the end of interviews today.
Yeah.
Sure.
So,
Okay. Good.
Anything else?
yeah, I get a couple of questions. You know, do you have any experience with beneficial electrification, as far as, you know, EVs or, you know, anything that would increase sales for Raleigh Light at the same time reducing carbon
Emissions.
Emissions.
Carbon footprint.
Yeah.
I don't want to sit and lie to you here. I don't. But if that's something that's out there, I mean, that's, you know, something we can look into and learn.
I mean, I only ask because it's a program that we have ongoing here.
Okay.
So I'm just looking to see if, you know, if you've had any involvement in any programs like that.
Yeah. No, I haven't. But it's one of the things. If it's here, I mean, it's one of those things you can learn, right? It's and then move forward from there. Sure.
Okay. And I know we already touched on the battery storage, and I'm sure you're aware of, you know, the changing goals as far as a renewable portfolio goes. You know, there are some challenges that may be arising out there.
There are. They could be, sure. I guess it's always, you always want to keep a strong portfolio with the regulations that may come down or could come down or most likely will come down from the state. You know, your green portion of your portfolio is very important, and it's best to be, we had that conversation earlier, it's best to be up front and not be behind.
Correct.
And if you are stuck behind, you're just going to scramble and you're going to get charged, obviously, like crazy, right? So it's best to be up front, you know, get out there. And I guess that's a question also of the commissioners, you know, where the commission would like to be portfolio-wise, where the community would like to be portfolio-wise. And then move in that direction. The always thing is, right, municipal, be the leader. You know, don't be the follower in there. And the other goal is looking at where Rowley is in relation to all the other municipals. A little above half in dollars per kilowatt. That's a goal, is to, you know, get that down, be in the bottom half of that pricing. So there's definitely goals there that you set and you know, get there. definitely get there.
One thing we know about electrification, demand is always going to increase.
Okay.
Okay. I think I'm good.
Anything else, anybody?
Yeah, pretty much covered it, I think.
No? Well, thanks, Craig.
Thanks for having me.
We'll
That's
be,
awesome.
as you said, we see people today and have a discussion, and I'll be the one back in touch with you sooner than later.
Okay, very good. Thanks for, I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for having me back. It's
Good.
great.
I'll
Thank
walk
you.
out.
All right.
Awesome. Craig, thank you.
Good seeing you again.
All right,
Thanks,
great.
sir.
Thank you.
So thanks. Here we are with Matt Brown for his final interview for the general manager role. So we just have a few prepared questions, then we'll just ask you any questions you have and such. It'll just be pretty quick. But
Sure.
I love it. Since you've had a chance to meet with the staff and go over and meet the guys, just love to get your general impression, what you thought of the team and the organization. I know you know a lot of them, but just
Yeah, I do know a few of them,
Yeah.
and I've met a few of them in passing, just being in a small network business. I like the staff level that you have, the number of employees for the size. It looks like you get a pretty good setup. They talked a lot about the transition they're going to be going through with both, senior management people leaving. So I think they're excited, and naturally there's probably a little bit of nerve there. That's normal. But they're going to do fine. I know Mark, I know Sean, I know Den. I know Eric's been around for a long time. He's got the office thing down. So they're excited. Probably a little nervous, but that's a good thing. I'd be worried if they weren't nervous, because it's a big responsibility taking over. And they know it, and they'll do just fine.
Thanks.
All right, so what do you see yourself focusing on during your first 3 months on the job?
Observation. Not somebody that is going to come in and immediately want to make a bunch of changes. I've lived that. I've picked up on some things over the years of what works and what doesn't work. And one thing that definitely doesn't work is when someone comes in, doesn't understand how an operation is, runs at that specific place, and wants to immediately make a bunch of changes. Like to see people do what they do, find out why they're doing it that way, and at a certain point in time, after a while, then you might want to tweak something here or there or make a suggestion. You guys have been around for over 100 years. You're obviously doing something right. There's no need to reinvent the wheel if it's turning just fine.
That's a great answer.
You have a third question, Bob. Question 3 is yours.
Question 3. We're in trouble
Get
again.
your glasses on. There we go.
What type of support do you see yourself needing from the commissioners to ensure that you are successful as the general manager?
So, per our conversation at the last interview, definitely experience on the operations side, the business side of it as far as the purchase power. I did print off your last DPU report. I would want access to Dan and or Kevin, who's currently living it through, Grove and Light Department, with the filings and that sort of stuff in the paperwork associated with, purchase power contracts and DPU reports and filings and that sort of stuff. That definitely will need, there'll be a learning curve for me, filing all the proper paperwork and purchasing power contracts.
And how do you see yourself working with the commissioners? Is there something you might need from the commissioners to be successful? How would you see that relationship?
I imagine I'll be, on the phone with the commissioners on a pretty regular basis. Been around long enough to know that if I don't know something, stop and ask. I talked about this in my last interview. Strong networker, right? So I have, not only the commission staff here, but commissioners in other towns, managers of other utilities, just other people I've met over the years that can offer some good insight on it. Definitely have never had a problem asking for help when needed. Want to make sure you're doing things right, covering all your bases, and that sort of thing.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, Matt, what would be your strategy and process for getting to know town officials, the community, power supplies, et cetera, et cetera?
So I would definitely schedule some meet and greets if I were given the opportunity to come on board. I did a very similar thing, even though I did work in Reading as a troubleman and as a lineman before I took the performance job. I reestablished. I talked about that at our interview. Reestablished a lot of relationships that didn't exist, and it was really just driving around and knocking on the door, walking in, and introducing myself, and getting emails and phone numbers, and that was proved to be a good move. And like I said in the interview, it's a lot of people want a face to go with the name. It puts a lot of people at ease, especially during storm events and stuff like that. They get used to seeing a face out there when something's not going right, and everybody feels a lot better when they know, hey, here's that guy again. Oh, that's Matt. We met him. We can call who we need. He's on it. He'll get the resources to get this safe. He'll talk with the chief. He'll talk with the fire department, whatever. So yeah, definitely meet and greet and find out what's going on around town and what we can do to help everybody achieve their goals.
Cool. All right. Let's see here. Sorry. We'd love to hear your final pitch for the job. Why do you think you're the right person to be the next general manager at the Rowley Light Department?
Well, I'm experienced with line work, all aspects of it. Substations, underground, transmission, sub-transmission. Very involved with the tree program at Reading. I own that pretty much all by myself. Great networker. Deal with difficult people very well. I always seem to have those passed off on me. Likeable. Can definitely get along with different personalities, which is important. Very organized, very focused, and goal-oriented. So.
Well, we see if anyone has any other final questions before we see if you have any further anything else.
I'd just like to ask a question, Matt. Going back a couple of years ago, we were looking at peak loads, and we're looking at how we're going to offset that peak load. And we're looking at generation, and we're looking at gas turbine generation, and then we're looking at what getting the contractors come in, presentations on. We looked at it, and we looked at the rate of return. The rate of return was 11, 17 years of trying to money back. And then we also looked at, I don't know if you're familiar with Sterling, about batteries, and
yes.
we looked at that aspect of it, and that was something that was going through the commission over the last couple of years. That peak load, we were concerned about it. See if you could expand on that.
So I am familiar with Sterling and the batteries. Reading, 166 Rear Chestnut Street, we did a 2.5 meg gas generator, peak shaving load.
How did you handle that when that came in and everything?
So the substation guy, Nick DeLeva, actually had the most involvement with that and with the Integrated Resources Department. My role in that was breaking into the building to the wire work and underground transfer switch and that type of stuff. So we just had, my role in that was handling the subcontractor that did all the wiring.
Okay.
But Integrated Resources handled most of that. But I was pretty involved with it. I thought it was a good project. I thought it was a worthwhile project. I think the payback on that one was going to be 8 to 10 years, they were hoping.
Oh, good. And Sterling, what do you know about Sterling?
I just know they're kind of the leader in the battery storage right now. Batteries seem to be the up-and-coming thing for sure. I like that you guys have done the solar. You're on it. It's a good thing. I think whether somebody mandates it or not, you need to increase your renewables, every couple of years anyways. It's probably only a matter of time before somebody steps in and tells you that you got to have a certain percentage per size utility. So I think you guys are starting off on the right foot and getting ahead of the curve there. I like the solar better than the wind, I can tell you that. I think that was a good move.
Just to kind of piggyback on top of that, you know, I understand that you've got experience with battery storage systems, or you know about them, and you brought up the fact that you are familiar with like a peaking natural gas, as Bob brought up. Do you have any experience with beneficial electrification as far as EVs go, EV programs, or rebate programs that promote beneficial electrification, such as like a heat pump rebate, so on and so forth?
Very, very little. I know Reading Light does offer some rebate programs for solar. They were on the hot water kick for a while. We had some problems with the switch leg apparatus, and they were heating up and melting, and it was more or less kind of just stopped in its tracks. It was more of a hazard to the homeowner than anything, so we got away from those. You know, they wanted to control everybody's hot water heater for part of the peak, and it looked good at first, and then ended up not being a great idea, so they just stopped.
Awesome. And then you kind of already answered another question I was going to ask you was, you know, just to kind of discuss, you know, what the future of renewables would be for the department, but it seems like maybe you've done some homework on this and understand that there may be, you know, currently there isn't a mandate, but there may be a mandate in the future that we, you know, maintain certain percentages, and you've kind of already expanded on that, so
yeah,
maybe ask that question.
It's coming, so you're better off to just stay ahead of it. I think a lot of that too is educating customers on how to conserve. It's all good information that they need, and it's just going to help your overall cause when it comes time to buy what you need to supply the town.
Were you able to, and maybe you said this already, I'm not picking up, but look at any of the available information about Raleigh Light that you can find online as far as DPU reports?
I actually have the DPU report printed out right here, so I have spent a little bit of time reading it.
Is there anything that surprises you or makes you take pause?
No, not necessarily. No. You guys look like you're in pretty good shape. No.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
All right, any other questions before we see if Matt has any for you guys? All right, over here, do you have any questions? You don't have to draft have any, but any questions for the group before we close up?
Yeah, I did. One question I had is I spoke with the staff, obviously. We talked about the transition. Mark's going to be taking over for Mark Bixby. Sean LaBelle was going to be moving out. I met your new apprentice. And I asked them what their biggest obstacle was right now at the department, and their response was the health insurance. I didn't know if there was anything in the works as far as changing any type of setup with the health insurance through the town, or if it was tied up with some unions or something. I wasn't 100% picking up on all of what they were saying, other than the cost, which for everybody has been going up across the board. I know we've dealt with it as well.
Town issue.
Okay, so they're tied in with the entire town as far as the health insurance. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately.
No problem.
Good. Anything else you want?
No, that's all I got for now.
All right. Well, as you know, we're seeing people today, and the commissioners will have a debate afterward and figure out next steps, and I'll be the one to be back in touch with you sooner than later, hopefully.
All right, excellent.
All right. I'll walk
Thank you
out.
so much.
Thanks, Matt.
Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.